very much for attending our Digital Enerji Forum.
Okay, so hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Wolf Ketter. I'm very sorry for this delay. There is some technical problems here, which I honestly never accounted before, but it's okay. We have to be flexible in during these times, and actually flexibility is also the key message of my talk in the energy landscape. Maybe a few words about myself. I'm Wolf Ketter. I'm a professor at the University of Cologne in Germany, and I'm the leading director of the Institute for Energy Economics. I'm advising the federal and the state government in Germany, as well as I'm a fellow of the World Economic Forum for Mobility and Energy. And in addition, I'm a professor at Rotterdam School of Management and also lead the Russell Center for Future Energy Business. Our work nowadays is actually, I would say, more important than ever, because we are looking into wicked problems. And if the pandemic is not a wicked problem, then I also don't know what it is, because what are actually wicked problems? You can, of course, think about clean access or access to clean water, look at the deforestation in Brazil, pollution, and of course, healthcare. Right now, during the pandemic, we're trying to control around the world the access and, the resource allocation to ICU beds in hospital. And actually, we can in many ways compare the current pandemic crisis and the management, the resource allocation management of this hospital bed with the energy landscape. I will give a few examples during my now very short talk. I'm sorry about that. So what is characterized about these bigger problems that they have a very, very different scale and scope as we have seen beforehand. And we are often unrealized challenges, right? Like we have never worked in 100% digital and renewable, sustainable energy landscape. How shall we do that? The rapid pace of this landscape, as we have seen also now with the pandemic, is breathtaking. And if you take now the wrong decision, it will have major negative consequences. And in the essence, it's often very simple, but the roots that emerge out of this are very, very complex. And I had now in my presentation, I had lots of different puzzle pieces where we look and work on the energy landscape. We work on different kinds of microgrids. We work on demand-side management, on storage, on predictions. But all of these puzzle pieces, I believe the move to the new energy landscape is not like a big bang effect. So it's more like an evolution of a 1 billion small puzzles leading to a whole new energy world. And I think that the key of everything is flexibility. That's really what it comes down and boils down to. And we actually, about 10 years ago, we developed a platform called Powertech. And Powertech stands for Power Trading Agent Competition. And you can look this up in www.powertech.org, powertradingagentcompetition.org. And this is by now the largest open source smart grid simulation platform in the world. And that's pretty cool. So we run annual world championship competitions. And so what you can do is, for example, usually we run our competitions in summer. This year we have, because the pandemic, pushed it to October, November. And we invite the research groups, maybe scientific, maybe industrial research groups around the world to participate. Have a look at it, because we are looking in new, how to develop new business models in this new energy landscape. So the players in this so-called serious game are what we call energy brokers, or in electricity terms, energy aggregators. So they buy renewable energies from different kind of sources, also wholesale market, local market. Then they bundle them up in different kinds of tariffs and offer them on the retail markets. And they have them to manage in relation with their customers. We call them, of course, prosumers nowadays, producing and consuming people, their electric vehicles, their smart homes, and the smart cities they live in. And we believe truly that the more you want to go to a fully sustainable energy landscape, the higher the degree of automation has to be. That's really something also, a lesson we're learning, of course, in the current pandemic, that a lot of things will become more and more automated. And the reason for that is very simple, because the more renewables we add to a sustainable energy landscape, the more we go from a demand-driven to a supply-driven energy network. And when this is happening, then actually the supply is, of course, coming when it's available. But these supplies are highly weather dependent. And if that's the case, because, I mean, electricity will be only produced when the sun is shining, the wind is blowing, the water is running. So we need storage systems, but we also need signals to get the energy off the grid at times when supply is there. Because as we all know, supply and demand need to be in tight balance in energy grids. So we then actually need to incentivize people to take the energy off the grid when it's being produced. How is that usually working? Usually through economic incentives like setting prices. But we have, as humans, right, we need to work, we have now a conference, we cannot always be concerned about, when shall we charge our electric vehicle, when shall we do the laundry, right? So we actually need, highly automated software, artificial intelligence software that learns our preferences, our goals and desires, and then can act on our behalf in strategic, tactical, or operational time, meaning real time. And that's very, very important. And that takes that cognitive burden off our shoulders, and then that is how the future energy landscape is going to work. And we have been working specifically here in the area of the new future mobility in terms of electric mobility, but also hydrogen. Today, I want to talk about electric vehicles. What we have done in this area is we believe that in the really far future, a lot of these, or not even too far future, maybe 10 to 20 years, we see more and more autonomous cars on the road. And of these cars, most of them will be automatic, will be autonomous. But what is really important in that respect, there will be electric, because for the city landscape, that really makes sense because the kilometers I drive every day, there's not that many. So, but as we know from individual usage, cars are one of the most expensive things next to a house or an apartment we are buying, but they're standing around like 90-95% of the time. And even in a fleet system, right, where a fleet operator, let's say Car2Go, Share, or BMW Drive Now, which now got together into Share Now, for example, there are many other fleets by all means. But even there, fleet cars are often idle for more than 50-60%. So the idea here is that, as I just explained, we have on the one hand, variable demand that actually what we're going to do is actually we are putting together so-called virtual power plants. So we're using tens of thousands of electric vehicles that are distributed throughout the city, and then we are charging the electric vehicles when there is too much energy available, and then the provider, the fleet operator, can give back energy to the grid when it's needed. And that's a type of business model, what I would call doing well by doing good, really doing something for society on the one hand side, but also earning money on the other hand. And I think that's really a perfect business model. And we have seen different cases. We have worked with cities around the world. For example, as we know, battery technology is really improving a lot. So we have started this research a few years ago, but if you look from 2015, 20, and now going towards 25, we see that the battery technology is getting better and better. And we have worked with 10 cities around the world. And we have seen that actually, depending on location, on the regulation, the amount of renewable energy there is, actually fleet operators can make between 8 to 12% extra profit. So that's pretty good. The first order of business is, of course, to keep the customer mobile, engaged, but then actually becoming really a system player here in helping to balance the electric grid on the one hand side and earning some other actually extra money on the other side is pretty nice. And actually, if we look further on the future of mobility, then actually I think the future will look very different. We have done with many services, many of our students around the world, and I also have small children. And I think they will actually, in the future, my hypothesis is that a person will never own a car, that they never drive a car, that they're readily able to share rides with strangers. As soon as this pandemic is over, we are going back to this. And that we are also looking at clean transport, that we avoid traffic jams. So we are also on the board of the World Economic Forum looking at policies, how to pricing policies so that the traffic keeps on moving. And so we're incentivizing clean transport without traffic jams. So maybe I will stop here. Maybe we'll allow maybe a time for 1 or 2 questions if there are from the audience. Thank you.
So in the chat table, there is one question from Ercüment Pulat. Mr. Ketter, what do you think about nuclear energy that Mr. Bill Gates has been trying to improve? Is nuclear a real future as Mr. Bill says? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pulat. So I really don't believe in nuclear energy. So maybe there is, I don't know, if really in 100 years, maybe, who knows that, right? Cold fusion comes around, maybe that could be something. But to be honest, we are living right now, and right now nuclear is not the answer, right? And we have to act right now. It's like with the pandemic. We are really focusing, of course, very much on the pandemic, rightly so at the moment, but there is a much bigger fight going on over here, the climate change. The pandemic we can overcome. We can find, hopefully about in a year from now, we have vaccination and we get the situation under control. If we reach the tipping point of the climate disaster, the climate change, then it's all going downhill from here. That about 500,000 of people will go down the drain. So that is really, really difficult. And think about the nuclear waste. Nuclear waste is there 100,000 of years. So you are right. Nuclear energy, yes, for reduction of CO2, but it's not a good long-term solution. Eski was, I hope that answered your question from my point. Then about Powertech, yeah, so I invite you all, maybe have a look at the Powertech webpage. Maybe I can repeat it, is www.power.tech.org. So maybe actually I can put it in the chat as well. I can also type in the chat, right? Powertech.org. So have a look at this website. It's an international competition, and like I said, we would be very, very happy to have you with us. You can actually be a participant in this competition, or you can use it for your own businesses. You can download it, you can experiment. Feel free to drop us an email afterwards. There is a question, Mr. Arnold, what do you think about the role of hydrogen? Yeah, I think there is a role of hydrogen. We are actually having a meeting actually today, energy conference with you, and actually later today with the state and federal government in Germany and a cross-border with the Dutch government. And we're looking at a hydrogen strategy specifically for heavy-duty vehicles for long distances. So, and also for potentially for, ships, boats, these kind of things, How to convince that small consumers take part. So I think so. Small consumers will take part in demand-side management, but over these highly intelligent software agents, these artificial intelligence that actually manages their smart home, because we don't have the time, right? We are all very busy people to think about that. We will actually, there will be some kind of dating going on with your intelligent software, with your AI software, but it will manage in your smart home in the background for you. So to avoid cognitive overload. So, yeah.